A little bit about me. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I have been a professional educator. I've been a teacher for 20 years, public school educator. I love to smile and laugh. I'm a Marvel fan. You know, me and the Avengers, I just watched a whole nother series of all of them from beginning to end just a couple of weeks ago. And I have 3 adult children and 5 grandchildren. I'm an inspirational speaker, launching my career as of 2021 because of 2020. And I'm also a certified fitness, health, and life coach. So that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. So let's get right into it. So, what is, for those who don't know, a health and life coach?
Who a health and life coach? Well, for the basics of it is, it's a person that works with you on an individual basis or sometimes in small groups, and they take you from where you are to where you want to go in your health and in your life. And your health, that's kind of basic foundational things like how you eat, what you eat, your movement, your exercise. The life is a little more specific. There are categories people work with specifically. Some of them work with money. Some of them work with love, relationships, that which is greater, which is connection to your higher power. So it's a foundational concept of having somebody that's your tough love cheerleader. They're in your corner. They're there to support and encourage you, but they also holding you accountable and making sure that you achieve that goal that you all set together based upon where you want to go from where you are now. That's how I would summarize a health and life coach.
Perfect. So, if there's someone who's having, let's say, they need some guidance in regards to their relationships, is that an area where you would assist them in?
With me, no. My coaching style, when I was really deep into, was more of the health and fitness area because I'm certified in all three. I would pick a category. I call it fitness, health, and life transformations based upon your faith, your hope, and the love. So depending on where you were fitness wise, we would come up with a game plan to get you from, maybe if you want to lose 10 pounds, we'd come up with some system that allowed you to lose 10 pounds in the time span we work together. Your health might be if you had a chronic illness, or maybe you just wanted to increase your water intake. Then we would talk about what your goal is for you with your water intake, which, by the way, if you didn't know, is 50% of your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 180, you want to drink 90 ounces of water. And the coach would be the person to be like, I know it's a lot, but you can do it. And then the life, like I said, depending. So if it was a relationship person with life, it would depend on the relationship of who they had. Like as a spouse, I would like pretty much lead by example because I've been married almost 30 years. I don't think there's not anything I haven't seen yet or experienced, or I hadn't had a girlfriend that might have had the same thing, but it would be based upon what that person's relationship is to the person they want to strengthen or solidify or whatever it is. So it's really individualized. So there's no blanket answer to that.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations on being married 30 years. That's an accomplishment in itself.
Yes, it is. It is a work, but it's been so much fun. I met Chris when I was 16. He was 19. Like I told you earlier, he gave me my nickname. He actually gave me another one called Cheesy. If you can see me, I have this big old ass smile, and he called me Cheesy because he said I remind him of the Chester Cheetah on the Cheetos bag. So let's say my coffee mug is as big as my smile. We'll go with that. That's a good compliment. But he's been with me forever and a day. So yeah, we've been married almost 30 years. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I signed that contract to death do us part, and that's the only thing that's gonna take us apart from each other. Other things
There
have
you go.
tried, but it's gonna have to be death, including myself. I tried, but he's so loyal. He's so humble. He just loves me unconditionally, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Nice, nice. And when you mention fitness and health, what's some of the obstacles that you've encountered in regards to some of the clients you deal with that may be preventing them from achieving where they want to be in life on a fitness and health level?
I'll tell you my obstacles because I personally was in the best shape of my life before I became a trainer. I wasn't a person that exercised. I wasn't a person that, I was, praise God, I had this naturally fit DNA. I had this DNA that had me look like I was naturally fit. People always said I had a track star body, but I didn't run track. I wasn't an athlete or anything like that. So when I started working out, I got cut and toned really quickly. And it took work, but not as much work. So I took that for granted, let's say that. And that was back in 2014. But I was so impressed with what the trainers did for me to transform my body because I started to get up in the mornings and work out. And I made it a lifestyle. Well, I thought it was a lifestyle that I became a trainer. And I used to train with an organization called Camp Gladiator. So it's a little different. It wasn't like aerobics, so it wasn't, it was group fitness, but outdoor boot camp style. And I trained with them for a year and a half. But during that training session of training, I didn't work out myself. And so I got to a point where I put on this extra weight. I lost my motivation. Even to this day, my obstacle is really my mind. It's not the understanding of what to do, because even without being a trainer, there's things you can look up on the internet. There's tons of videos. There's tons of access. It's not about opportunity because of the access. You have the internet is portable in your phone. There's different groups you can go and sign up and join. So for me, and I believe for the majority of people, it's the mindset. It's the ability to click on a switch in your head to say, I'm just going to do it. Regardless, I'm going to commit to this journey of getting myself in shape and being the healthiest I can be. And I'm going to do it regardless. Like literally, it's raining outside. Okay, I still need to work out. My stomach is bothering me. Okay, I still need to work out. And I say workout meaning movement. It could be exercising really hard, like a HIIT workout, high intensity, or it could be taking a walk. But you want to commit to something, interested in it. So I think the biggest obstacle for most, including myself, is taking it from an interest to a lifestyle. And I thought I had it, but I really didn't. Because if it was a lifestyle, it wouldn't have shifted so quickly because I just stopped doing it. Lifestyles don't change. They just grow.
And that's a good point that you made, because you hear about that from a lot of people in the fitness and health community, that it's a lifestyle, something that you do every day, instead of it just being, you know what, I go to the gym, I do this, I count my macros, I go from there. Because once you have that, to your point, mindset, that it's kind of, you're forcing yourself to it, it becomes a chore. And human nature is, we don't like doing things that
Exactly.
seem
That's
like a
right.
chore, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
you raise an amazing point, that's saying that if it was a lifestyle, it would have just gone through the cycle, but you would have grown, it would have grown with you,
Yes.
versus the peaks and valleys. But and not to knock these group of people, but you tend to hear sometimes people say that, you know what, in 30 days I want to do this, but it's not necessarily sustainable, because what are you going to put your body through for
That's
you to
right.
achieve that in 30 days that you haven't been doing consistently for the last 6 months, last 12 months, last 18 months? What do you
And
say
and
to that crowd of people?
well, I would say, what is your ultimate goal? Because if you truly look at those quick fixes, is what I call them, because they exist. There are programs you can sign up for where you can quick fix your weight, you can quick fix your health for a limited amount of time. But so what do you do after 30 days? So my 30-day goal is like, yay, I made it. Now what? Day 45 comes around. You didn't continue what you started. You just kind of hit this pivotal point and then you quit. So if you don't create a lifestyle, like an understanding that this is something that I'm just going to do because it becomes who I am or who you want to be. Matter of fact, I had a conversation yesterday with a guy in my small group for church. And he said the same thing. Like he thought that he had created a discipline by going to the gym every day. He had a routine. He went every day. He did his set. He threw in some cardio. But when the gyms closed, he stopped. So it wasn't a commitment. It wasn't a discipline. It was a routine. And there's a difference. So those people who are those 30-day people, you need to take it from a routine to something deeper, which I would call discipline. You need to turn into something that even though the gym's closed, you got to get your workout in. You have to get some movement in, because that's what discipline is. It's consistency. And I'm guilty of it. I can tell you, I know. I've been thinking about those quick fixes, like, 30 days, I can lose 10 pounds real quick. Then all I got to do is use my training skills and maintain it. But I know that in the long run, that won't sustain me. That'll make me feel really good for a short amount of time. And I won't have that Cicely Tyson body or that Tina Turner body when I'm 70 and 80 years old. That's what I want. That's the second half of my life.
Have you seen Tina Turner lately?
Actually, no. But does she not still look good?
I think she's one of those people that will look good forever.
I agree. But did you see Cicely Tyson? She just passed. And somebody posted a picture of her on her Instagram. And I was like, gosh, she was still beautiful. Frail, yes. But she was 96 years old. Like, after a while, your body's going to do what it does. But still, she just had on this best little outfit. Highlighted her salt and pepper hair. But yeah, Tina Turner, that
Yeah,
body,
even
those people. Angela
What's her
Bassett.
name? Angel Bass and Felicia Rashad.
Oh yes, yes, that kind of sustainability, and not just because of the old saying that black don't crack, not because of that, but because I'm sure they've created a lifestyle where their health is important to them, and they live that, not just oh yeah I don't age because I got melanin in my skin. That's a benefit, and I'm grateful, but at the same time, it won't sustain you either.
Absolutely. You mentioned, I know when we talked briefly, you mentioned there's a time in your life where things were difficult,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
How difficult did it become, and what caused that period of time of difficulty for you?
Mm. It got so difficult that I actually attempted to take my own life because I was in that much pain. It was that difficult for me. What led up to that was, I believe a lot of it was my ability to try to be something, not my ability, my desire to try to please other people. I used to know that in your 20s, in my 20s, I was the yes girl. I got married when I was 18. So anybody was, I was trying to make everybody happy. My parents, my husband, my in-laws, the job, it was just yes, 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 yes. I got to make everybody like me. I have to make sure everybody know that I'm strong and I'm going to, be this beautiful, all-rounded person. And the 30s, the lessons decreased, but I still had something inside of me that was trying to push me to be something that I wasn't really meant to be. I just stifled a lot of ambition. I stifled a lot of dreams because I didn't think that I was good enough. So I would say a lot of it was people pleasing. Then it came down to self worth and self love. And then it ultimately came down to just ignorance. I just didn't know. I didn't know that there was a better way. I didn't know that there was an opportunity to have such peace and comfort to what I am, what I feel right now. And so to tell you a little bit more about my story, I'm an alcoholic. So when I started having those feelings, when things started to get difficult and challenging, I just drank. I didn't start out drinking to cover them up, but at the end, that's what I was doing. I was masking all my pain and all my angers and everything else with alcohol because alcohol made me feel good. It was fun. It was nice to be the happy hour girl. Everybody wanted to be around Yo. Oh, is Yo coming? We got this, we got that, da 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 da. So it felt good to be seen for what I thought I was supposed to be. At that time was the drinking girl, the hangout, the party girl. And the more and more I drank, the more and more it just started to ruin me, or the me I thought I was, which was not the real me, which is funny. I was ruining something that wasn't even true. So I drank, the last drink I had was March 11, 2019. So almost 2 years, 2 months from now. Or, oh no, next month. It's already February. And I had a conversation with a glass of wine in my family room. And I literally was talking to her like I'm talking to Terrain right now. And I told the wine different things like, I'm just tired of what you're doing to me, the way I'm feeling, blacking out every night, lying to my husband. I mean, yeah, I would take wine bottles and hide them in the boots in my closet because I didn't want to be caught drinking as much as I was drinking. Everybody knew I was drinking, but to the level that I was drinking because of the level of pain I had. My daughter would drink with me, and she was 25, and she got brought home a couple of months ago for drinking and driving. So I had a lot of guilt and resentment for things like that. But that day that I had that last glass of wine was also the day that I took a whole bunch of medications because I was just tired of living the life that I didn't think was supposed to be mine. So instead of me pushing through and finding another one, I was just going to give up on the one I had. But that didn't work out, praise God. I'm here. I did not succeed in that suicide attempt. And now I know that I was meant to go through all of that so I can share these kind of stories with other women who might be ambitious and driven. Because I mean, I'm degreed. I have like 6 college degrees and a few hours from a doctorate. I'm professional. I have a career I've been in for 20 years. I was a wife. I had grown, kids that are doing good. So I had everything on paper was like perfect. But if you could see me on the inside, you wouldn't have thought that I was in so much pain and in such darkness. So I know that I've gone through it now so I can reach another woman like me who might think that, there's no way out. And there is all glory to God if you just surrender and allow him to take over and mold me into what he wants me to be. And I really, with all sincerity, feel like that's what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm having this conversation with somebody out there, whoever's hearing this, whoever needs to hear that story. That's why I didn't succeed that night. That's why I'm on these podcasts, because that darkness almost killed me. And now I'm here
That's
to
a
shed the light.
and that's an amazing story because you have yourself sharing that, and you have so many people that I have friends that they look to others to find approval. They look to others to find their self worth, right? And you and I, for those listening, you and I are having this conversation, and there's probably someone that you guys who are listening know that there's someone who wakes up and what they see in the mirror is what other people tell them to see, meaning that they only value what they see if other people can value it. And from when it comes to, let's say, drugs, alcohol, um, people sometimes use sexual partners, people sometimes use
Mm-hmm.
food. There's a way,
Spending everything, yeah.
spending, that we deal with our issues instead of literally turning around the mirror and saying that, because I think everyone should ask themselves this question: am I happy with what I see?
Right.
Right? Because if you're not happy with what you see, it is your responsibility to change it. And I think sometimes we look at those around us that are saying that, you know what, if I make this change, will they still like me? If I make this,
Yes.
right? If I make this change,
Yeah.
will they still accept me? If I make
Step
this
me. Yep.
if I make this two steps forward, am I going to have to find a new circle of friends? And it's scary being, because
Yeah.
you touched on it earlier, it's scary being uncomfortable because one, that's where we grow, but that's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes where we grow apart from those around us. Is that
The
something
truth
that you
is, though, you
experience?
made a yes, and I love what you said, and I like to change that pronoun to encourage people to say, instead of the if they, ask yourself if I. Because if you don't love you, if you cannot look in the mirror and say, I accept all of me and I love all of me, it wouldn't matter what anybody else thought anyway. Because you've given so much power over to the outside world when all the power is right there within you. So yeah, I experienced it. I used to look in the mirror and think like, and even now to this day, I still struggle sometimes with, oh, but if I say this, they might not sign up. Oh, but if I share this, they might not want me to coach them or speak on their podcast or invite me to their keynote. And the thing, there's not a way to like get away from it because it's our human nature. But what you want to do is be aware and take notice. And once you realize that you're going down that rabbit hole of if they, wait a minute, it's not about them. If I, and why am I feeling this way? Why am I concerned about what somebody else thinks? Because ultimately it's me. There's a book out there, I haven't read all of it, but heard the title several times. What other people think about me is none of my business. And on top of that, nobody really is thinking about you. So we spend a lot of time concerned about the outside and what they're thinking. Nobody is really thinking about other people. Most of the people in this world are extremely selfish. They think about themselves and they live for themselves, which is okay. Just be selfish in a positive way. Live for yourself and think about yourself and be kind to yourself. Because if you don't do that, nobody else will. And you're the only person who can do that for you. Fill your own cup. That's what I've been hearing lately. Fill your own cup.
But you have acceptance being such a big thing for a lot of people, right? And I see a lot of not saying that I'm old, but I see a lot of people younger than me that it's so important, especially when you look at what we would do to be accepted, right? Like we would
Mm-hmm.
alter our bodies, we would alter our pictures, we would alter who we are, we would compromise to levels that we didn't even think that we would just to be accepted. And what do we do as a society or as people as a starting point to even combat that?
It has to start back as we're kids in childhood. Most of us are struggling with things that we didn't get the kind of love or acceptance, and I dare to say attention when we were young, like babies, like before the age of 8 is when our personalities are created. And what happens is we raise our children, and people are raising their children with this whole persona of perfection, really, or awarded for external things. Like say a little toddler is being potty trained, and they successful, and then all of a sudden like, yay, you did it, way to go, you're a good girl, you're a big boy, you went to the restroom. But then they go to the restroom on themselves, and it's like, no, no, don't do that, you shouldn't do that. So ultimately that reward system is ingrained. Like if I'm good, if I'm accepted, if I do what other people want me to do, then I get that love, right? So it really would depend on what society is looking at what is acceptable now. And unfortunately, the world we live in now, everything is acceptable, because everything, there is no standard of, what am I looking for? There's no standard. Everything is okay. Everything is a given. So people are willing to go into any lengths because they can be accepted in any way, which is funny because that means that you don't have to do as much because the world should accept you as you are. But because there's so many things out there that people will accept, we try to fit into all of them. Does that make any sense?
Mhm.
It's like the world accepts everything, so let me be everything. But if there was a standard that was like, okay, this is a level of acceptance that still fuels me and gives me value and gives me self-love, that's what I want to try to be. But instead, it's free game. It makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense coming out, but it makes sense in my head.
No, I
Because
totally
everything
get it.
acceptable, we try to be everything.
Yeah, it's because there's, as you put it, because everything is on the table, we can
Yeah.
be anything that we want instead of focusing and doubling down and say that, you know what, I want to be this. I want to be this, which is going to lead to this, which is going to lead to this. And then I'm a great person. And it's an interesting point because sometimes when I look back and I look at where I came from and how I was able to do, let's say for example, this podcast, right? This is 2 years in the making. I had the idea back in 2018, but even I went through it. I was like, okay, you know what? Let me see if I can do this with a support system. So I reached out to some of my friends that went to school for audio, then went to school for video.
Mm-hmm.
But what was missing was I found two things. One, it was my dream, and I can't expect other people to put the same amount of effort into my dream and to love my dream.
Yeah.
And two, why am I waiting for other people and their schedule when it's my dream?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So when I did that, I was like, okay, after 2 years of waiting, trying to negotiate it, and it goes back to our earlier point for those listening, 2020 was like, okay, Train, you have all this extra time because certain things that you were spending time doing, you can't do because of the pandemic, lockdown restrictions, whatever. Because anyone who hasn't done this exercise, meaning if you haven't done the exercise of measuring the amount of time you spend on each activity, trust me, you guys need to do that. You will realize how much extra hours
I
in the day
concur.
that you
Yep.
have, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right. So when I was able to do that and I removed, chasing doing this, I was like, I have more than 5 hours to dedicate a week to
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
You know? So,
Yeah.
for all those people out there that's like, oh, I went to the club Friday, Saturday until 3, 4 o'clock a.m. Okay. Look at it like this. When you go, let's say you go to work the Friday, you work your 9 to 5, right? You get home 5:30, 6 p.m., you eat, you shower, whatever. You have from 8 o'clock to 5 a.m. You have 9 hours that you're doing what? Not saying that partying is good because I love to go and,
Yeah.
but
Get it
what I'm
in.
saying
Right.
is you take that away. If you do that twice a week, every week, that's 18 hours a week. For me, having this conversation with Lo now is probably going to be an hour. For me to edit, it's going to probably be this. Out of that 18 hours I no longer have doing, all I had to do is find 5 hours to start my business a week,
Wow. Isn't that
right?
a beautiful epiphany when you finally realize that, like, God, because that's one of the biggest misdemeanors is people saying, I don't have time. Oh, you'd be so amazed. Like you said, if you log your time, even if it's just like literally like, okay, so I think like for me, it's like what doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done because I see now how valuable that time is. If I don't put it down, it's not getting done because I'll find myself filling in all that free time with something else. So I try to schedule everything. But if you say I don't have time, 24 hours is a long time. And if you log I sleep this much and I work this much. And all that other quote, quote, free time, what do you do with it? Social media is a time sucker. And you don't even realize it. I do now. It's like, okay, I'll be like, Echo. I would say because my computer's in. I'll Echo the Alexa. Set the timer 15 minutes because I need my TikTok fix. I need my TikTok fix. I do. So I'll be okay, but I just need 15 minutes because I've been on TikTok long enough. This is just one example where a little guy pops on and he's like, okay, you've been on here for a while. It's time for you to go to sleep and wait for the next day. I've been on there for hours. And the same thing with Clubhouse and Instagram and Facebook, all those social medias, because time just seems to not exist when you get on there. And the next thing you know, without some kind of scheduled time, what you thought was an hour was 2 or 3. And look at what you could have done with that in reference to building a dream, living a dream, starting a business, spending time with loved ones. Because we're not promised to see them the next day. Just, I don't know. And there's other things out there. For those of you who are listening, if you're a person who are struggling with time and how to manage it, there are things out there like challenges. I went through one this summer. It was beautiful. It's called Leveraging Your Time. It's 5 days. It was free. And she helped me realize that I found 6 free hours. No, 12. I found 12 free hours throughout the week that I could use to develop my program, my business, and build up myself. And I wouldn't have known it if somebody didn't guide me through it. So there are ways to master these things. You don't have to do anything alone. You don't have to do anything alone. Somebody out there already knows, and there's somebody out there willing to help. You just got to find them.
Exactly. Like people would be surprised that any idea that you can come up with, there's already a version of it,
Exactly.
right? I
Yep.
remember 2019, I started logging my social media time. I was clocking in on average daily just over 3 hours.
Woo!
And I look
21 hours
back,
a week. That's almost full day. That's 3 hours shopping a full day a week.
there you go. And I was telling one of my friends, you add another hour to that, and it's a part time job because
Yeah.
that's the way you have to look at it, right? And I told them, I spend less time now, and I started my business 2020. I spend less time on social media now for my business than I did when I didn't have the business,
Yes. Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
what the point that we all want to make to those listening is that if you take the 3 hours that you're spending or the 5 hours in front of the TV or doing
Mm-hmm.
all these other things, right? If you take an hour or two in just networking, it would be more beneficial to you for those who are starting a business. If you take it just on self reflection, making sure that your mental fitness and your mental health is on
Mm-hmm.
point and you're taking it because I'm in Toronto, Canada here, and there's a stay at home, there's an order saying that you're not able to visit extended family,
Ooh.
right? So now we're at a point where you have all this extra time, and even if you wanted to, you couldn't spend it with your loved ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where in 2019, when we had the same amount of time, or when we had more time, sorry, we weren't spending it with our loved ones.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like you want it. It's like you don't want it till you can't have it, right? It's like all of a sudden now that I don't have time to be able to do the things that I didn't want to do anyway, now I want to do them. Now I want to go travel. Now I want to go hang out with people. Now I want to, build up the business and things. Well, we've always had the same amount of time. That's why I said I'm grateful for COVID. I really think it did a reset for a lot of people's lives in general to sit back and say, what really did change? A pandemic came through and it took away what we were taking for granted. And now that we don't have it, hopefully people can see the joys when they get it back. And they'll start making time for the stuff that's important because COVID forced people to think about what's really important.
What's something that you realize that's important to you now that maybe wasn't important to you when you're going through your situation with alcoholism and maybe suicidal thoughts?
My state of mind is important to me now. I didn't realize how important it was to pour into myself and to develop a strength in my head that kept me positive. I didn't think about me. I was always, I got to go to work. I need to make sure my husband has this needs met, and then my kids have these needs met, and my job has these needs. I just didn't put myself first. So I realized how important I am, and not just me, because I mean, people can do that. They can log in time for themselves for like self-care, which is more than just mani pedis. Like, it's more than just going out to get a massage. People can log in time to like relax or time to reflect. But for me, I started to see more important how it was to figure out my mental state, because my mental state was broken. That's what wasn't strong enough. That is what I didn't have clarity in, is the way I thought about myself, about my body, about the life I was living. That mind, my mind, our minds are so powerful. So that's what's important to me now. It's my mental state. Yeah.
Is there certain things that you're doing now to continue to maintain that strong mental state of mind?
Yes, yes. I'm constantly checking myself. Like I said earlier, when I said if I look in the mirror and I'm like they are going to whatever, I had to stop and change their pronoun. Where's the they even coming from? What am I thinking right now? And why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? Why do I feel like this is not going to work? Why do I feel like she's going to do this? Like, because I internalize things more often now with the intention of nipping it, because I am in control of my state of mind. I am in control of how I feel and what I think and what I do. The outside factors don't have power over me. So now I'm more intentional with my thoughts. That's what I do now. I don't have a routine set in place. I don't have any affirmations that I say specifically. I'm just starting to take more notice. That's a change I've given. I'll take more notice. I'm more aware of what I'm thinking than I used to be.
Did the control come easier? Sorry, did the control come easier to you than you expected once you started on this journey, or was it maybe something that you felt was more difficult to continue?
This is actually more challenging because it was so comfortable what I had been and what I've been doing for over 2 decades. But like I said, the growth is in the discomfort. And once I even learned that, I get more excited about, okay, this is uncomfortable. That must mean I'm about to go through some kind of breakthrough, because it's starting to feel a little like, I don't like this. I don't like the way I feel right now. So what's happening? What's about to go? So it's different. It's a different kind of struggle. It's just like I say, I've heard there's overwhelm and then there's overwhelm. Like, you have the good overwhelm. Like, I'm choosing for my mind to be challenged. I'm choosing for my body to be challenged. Where versus it's just happening to me. That's that overwhelm that can exhaust you and cause stress because you're not in control of it. I'm in control of this overwhelm. And I know that once I get through it, it's just another light or another opportunity to grow even more. I'm excited about where I am. And yeah, it's harder, but it's a good hard.
And you mentioned a good point of being overwhelmed because for you,
Mm-hmm.
your wife, your mother, and
Mm-hmm.
and you're a professional woman. Do you think sometimes that because you mentioned, and I'm going to phrase this question this way, you mentioned that you were looking after people's, making sure everyone else was okay,
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
at the expense to a degree of not making sure that you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard this from a few people I've interviewed. They've mentioned that, and it seems um, and the people that mentioned it, they're all mothers and they're all wives.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
what they mentioned is that they feel sometimes that the strength of the household
Yeah.
is on their shoulders,
Yeah.
right? And it leads them to feel overwhelmed, and it leads them to feel that, you know what, I need to make sure everyone else is okay, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
secondary. But what these women, these mothers, these wives realized as they got older was that it's okay to take a day for me. It's
Yeah.
okay to make sure that I'm okay, because if I'm not okay, then the people that I want to be okay won't be okay because I won't be around.
Right. For me, I agree with that. And that's a great step. I challenge women to take it a step further and let somebody know how you're feeling and ask for some support. A lot of those things we took upon ourselves, that weight that you said was on our shoulders or my shoulders, I chose that weight. I chose to be that let me be the caregiver. Let me make sure everybody's okay. Let me nurture, let me love, let me do all that. I didn't give my husband an opportunity to really step in and step up, at the level that I thought that he could, because I thought that it was my role. I was raised with that mindset. Oh, but you this strong Black woman, you got to get in there and take care of everybody. You got to make sure that everybody's okay. You get yourself overtime when the kids are grown and out the house. That's when you can start doing things for you. And yes and no, it doesn't have to be that way. We can ask for help. It's like the superwoman complex. Like, we were bred and raised to do everything independently, to be strong, to be bold, to be aggressive. Like, you don't need no help. That's all bullshit. It is okay to ask for some help. It's okay to need the help. And so I would say a step further: share your feelings, share your emotions, and seek some support. Because at the end of the day, your mental state might not last. We do all this carrying and holding, and this weight gets so heavy that we'll find some other way to suppress it. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's a choice. We chose that. I chose to be that person, that caregiver, that supporter, that everything else, at the level that I chose to do it. I'm not saying I wouldn't still have the role, but it didn't have to be as heavy.
And everyone needs help. I don't think there's anyone on this earth that doesn't need help, but many of us don't even ask
That's
for
right.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, from my experience, it has to come down to ego, right? It has to come down to
A
saying that,
lot
you
of
know
it.
what?
A lot of it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ask because I feel a certain way, even though each and every one of us need that help.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to come across as weak. I don't want to come across as um I'm not independent. I don't want to come across as, and again, it's all those outside things, but again, that actually is a little more internal, because you're the one that's perceiving yourself that way. I'm gonna say it again. What other people think about you is none of your business, and nobody's really thinking about you. They just aren't. So we bring it up on ourselves about what we think others' perceptions are of ourselves, and it's really, what's the perception of you. When you look in that mirror, what do you really see? Because that's what when I finally got out of rehab, when I realized that I'm an alcoholic and it's a disease that I struggle with. When I got out of it and I started looking in the mirror, I accepted everything about me. I wasn't looking like, oh, but this is wrong and this is wrong, this is wrong. Acceptance is the catalyst to self-love. You've got to just accept it, and don't try to shift it or change it or develop it, as long as it's not degrading you, or I don't know how to put this. Like, I don't want people to go in thinking like, oh, but I think that I think I'm ugly, so I accept that I'm ugly. No, everything is beautiful, but accept that you might have a lazy eye. I guess is what I'm saying. Like Forrest Whitaker, he had to look in the mirror and accept that he has a lazy ass eye. That didn't hold him back. That didn't stop him from being the actor that he is. But it all comes down to you seeing you for you. All of you accepting it and then progressing to loving it. That body positivity, it has some value. That mental state of mind, it has value. You have to be willing to look at yourself and love who you are. The good, the bad, the not so attractive. I hate saying ugly. The good, the bad, and not so attractive.
Yes, self-acceptance is something that we all need to do. But like you said, there may be a part of our personality, a part of our physical makeup that we may say that, this is not the best, this is not my best feature. But you have
Yeah.
to own it, right?
Yeah.
Life is about, to me anyways, life is about owning everything that you did, because there's people that come from a single parent household that are successful. There's people that come from a single parent household that are not successful,
That's right.
right? So everyone has something they can point to and say, because of this, I am not here, right?
Right.
But I truly believe successful people say, yes, because of this, it has put me at a starting point that is maybe further behind than other people, but I'm going to work twice as hard, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be twice as better, right? Because the you have to make up the starting point. And if you don't do that, then you're taking a way out, that you're taking a course that a lot of people do take, which is, it's easier, right? Because change is hard.
Yes, it
Change is
is.
scary. Change is intimidating,
It's just uncomfortable.
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's uncomfortable, but we can sit back and say, well, you know what? This is my situation. I'm just gonna stay here. I'm gonna work my job. I'm not gonna get a pay increase, and then I'm just gonna just die. But if you want more out of life, you have to look at your surroundings and say, you know what, I'm gonna own all of this. Similar to you, you say that you
Yeah.
know what, I went through this because of this. I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna accept it. Have that conversation in the mirror and say, dude, you know what? I'm gonna own everything bad, everything good, everything
Hmm.
that's indifferent about myself, and I'm gonna move on and make all the bad and indifferent better.
That's right. Yes. That is the goal. That's the dream for everybody. And what I'm true a firm believer that once everybody does that or people choose to do that, the world itself will change. Because it's like Michael Jackson's song, I'm starting with the man in the mirror or the woman or the whatever you identify as. You got to start with the one in the mirror. But that's all you have control over. But you impact so many others. You impact the people in your household, whether it's a relationship or not. Your change and yourself impacts them. You impact the people at your workplace. That impacts the people at their homes. So you start with you, and you accept and love you, and everything else will fall into place for others too.
I guess my final question for you, Yo, is for the women out there that are struggling with any addiction, let it be
Hmm.
alcohol or anything, but we can focus on alcohol, and they're trying to come out of it or they
Yeah.
have come out of it. What are some words of experience or words of wisdom that you want to share with them to help the next generation?
I would share with them that there is hope. A lot of people feel like they're in that dark place and they're in that struggle or whatever you want to call it, pit, and they can't get out. There's hope. And what I've done is I've broken down hope. I call it Hope C, broken down hope into an acronym or a mnemonic. The H is for help, as I said earlier. Share with somebody what you're feeling. It could be a spouse, a sister, a brother, a parent, whatever. Share with somebody what you're feeling, and be willing to accept help and seek it. The O is for ownership. Look in the mirror and own up. Are you going to be a victim or a survivor? Because you can't be both. A victim will be the one that's going to continue to pick up that substance and pour it into themselves, or continue to think the way they think about themselves and stay in that pit, as you said earlier, Terrain, and not change. Or a survivor is the opposite of that. You're going to fight this thing. You're going to fight, and you're going to live and thrive. The P is for pause. Take a pause and ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Whether that's through prayer, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through breathing, but you pause and think, what's going on? Why am I feeling the way I feel without the external excuses? And the E is for take it easy. Whatever you're struggling with, you didn't start struggling with it overnight and it got there. So don't expect to get out of it overnight, right? And the C for Hope C is to celebrate. Celebrate small successes. If you did not pick up something that day, celebrate that. If you didn't think that, if you looked in the mirror and said, oh, I look good, even though I got 15 extra pounds on me, celebrate that. So H, seek the help. O, take ownership. P, pause. E, take it easy on yourself. And C, celebrate. That's the tips I would give you, is to know that there's hope and you can have it, but you got to go get it.